Okay, sit. Yes. Good girl, fantastic. Good job, you did it. Sit, good. Sit, good. Sit, good. If you know what you're doing, you can teach a dog to sit on a verbal command only in under 15 minutes. This is important because the less time you spend establishing the sit, or any other behavior for that matter, the faster you can get to working on the more important aspects of that behavior, such as stability, control, and reliability, all of which you need to have in order to create truly functional obedience. And not just party trick obedience that only works when it's only you and the dog at home. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Let me show you how to make that first step towards a functional sit as simple, effective, and efficient as possible. Let's get started. Probably the quickest, easiest, most simplest, straightforward way to teach a dog to sit is to do it through shaping. There is another way, which is luring, and that's something you all have probably seen before. Although, to be quite honest, I feel like a lot of people get that wrong in and of itself, and maybe I'll show you luring as well. But really, the main thing I wanted to show you was how to teach a sit through shaping, because it is extremely straightforward when done correctly. This is Cooper. He's not my dog. He's a client's dog, beginning client's dog. And as far as I know, he does not know sit. So I'm going to show you how I would get that started with a brand new dog who has no engagement to me whatsoever. So first thing you do, first thing you're going to need is a treat pouch with some food in it. Here I'm just using some simple Vienna sausages. If you're going to be training a lot, you probably want to use the dog's kibble and feed him through training, or get healthier treats. But if you're kind of just, making do with what you got, like I am right now, it's totally okay to use hot dogs and Vienna sausages and cheese and that sort of stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is show the dog that I have a piece of food, and we're going to take a look and see if he likes it at all. And he does. He'll at least take a good boy. Good. All right. So if the dog is at least motivated for the food you're offering, you can do this. And what you're going to do is you're just going to stand around, ignore the dog, and wait for them to sit good. Wait for them to sit on their own and then move. Good. The moment his butt touches the ground, I'm marking him with the word good and giving him a piece of food. Now, the marker itself doesn't really matter. The marker can be whatever you want it to be, whatever you've conditioned your dog to understand as the marker. If you don't understand markers, I have a video on that. I'll put it above me somewhere. But it's important that you mark the dog the moment their butt touches the ground. So the dog understands that it's their butt touching the ground that's getting them the reward. And it's that piece of information that is speeding this process up, because essentially the marker is telling the dog why they're getting the food or why they're getting reinforced, which is the butt touching the ground, which is the sit. Also notice right now I am not saying sit. I'm not giving a sit command in any way. I'm just simply marking him for putting his butt on the ground and giving him a reward soon after. So walk around, wait, good. If you're using a clicker, that you would click, give the dog a reward. But I'm using verbal here. Good. Good. Once it's pretty consistent, what you're already seeing Cooper do, good. You can start to name it. And naming it is really simple. All you're going to do is say whatever command you're going to use for the sit just before, ideally just before they start to. And now, because the behavior is predictable and pretty consistent, you should be able to consistently put that command just before the sit behavior. Sit, good. Sit, good. Sit, good. Sit, good. Sit, good. He's already piecing it together. Sit, good. Many repetitions of that. Once the dog starts to understand that SIT means to put their butt on the ground, you can start adding in the release. I like to use the word okay, but once again, you use whatever you want. Sit, good. Okay. That's how I like to condition it at first, the little food toss. Eventually, we'll get rid of the food toss. Sit, good. Okay. Sit, good. Okay. Sit, good. Okay. And another natural step to take from here is to add some duration to the SIT. Sit, good. Good. Okay. I didn't throw a treat that time. You can mix that up as well. Sit, good. Good. Okay. Sometimes give them one reward, sometimes two, sometimes three. Mix it up. That randomness in the reward will help them hold that sit position much easier, because in their mind, they won't know how many rewards are coming. So they're just going to stay seated until I stop giving them rewards, which is a good way to build stability even from the very beginning. Sit, good. 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 Okay. Sit, good. Nope. If the dog moves like that, just shut it all down. Don't give them a reward. Try again. Sit, good. Good. Okay. Sit, good. Okay. One more thing you could start layering on is waiting a little bit before marking and rewarding them. So it doesn't have to be right when their butt touches the ground. You can wait a little while after. Sit, good. Okay. Adding the release is really important, because that release cue is going to be the only cue that is going to tell the dog that they can move from the sit. That's what you're going to keep completely consistent no matter what you layer on top of the sit. Because later, I'm going to show you how to get your dog to hold a sit even when other dogs are walking right by you, or when somebody's greeting them, or when going through doors. And in order to teach all that effectively, the dog has to understand that the only time that they can break that sit position is if you give them another obedience command or you give them the release. Nothing else. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what the environment's doing. They have to hold that sit position. One more thing I should mention, something that I like to do with my own dogs, and something I would recommend you guys do, and that is you say the dog's name before you give the command. And I like to do this even with a sit. I do this with all of them. So if I want Nova to sit, Nova sit. If I want Nova to recall, Nova here. just to kind of show you what that would look like with him. I'm sure you could piece it together, but just for the sake of being thorough, let me show you. I'm going to walk around, ignore the dog. And you would probably want to add this after they're doing it somewhat consistently so that you can teach them through the marker that it's their butt that touching the ground that gets the reward. After that, you can add the name in. Cooper, sit. Good. Okay. Cooper, sit. Good. Good. Okay. And there you go. That's how you can get a dog to sit through shaping in hardly any time at all. In the intro, I said you could do this in about 15 minutes or less, and that's true. You really can. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that it doesn't have to be 15 straight minutes. You can break it up into 5 sessions of 3 minutes or 3 sessions of 5 minutes. Or if you have a dog that's really, really motivated to work and enjoys training and engaging with you, and you can go 15 minutes without losing any gumption, then go ahead and do 15 minutes. But if you have a dog that's kind of meh and you want to keep the intensity high without them getting bored, I recommend you break up the sessions. So for most pet dogs, I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes and over 3 to 5 sessions. So that's a good target to shoot for. Maybe the first session you're just getting the sit behavior consistent. You're not saying the sit yet. Then maybe at the second session, you're adding the sit. And then the third session, you're adding the release. And then the fourth session, you're adding the name before the sit. Then the fifth session, you're adding some duration, so on. You just build on it every session as long as the dog is progressing. But yeah, and if in 15 minutes or less, you should be able to get your dog to sit on a verbal cue only. Sit. Good. Okay,